The massive alien ship hung in Earth's orbit like a dark cloud blocking the stars. Inside the ship's observation deck, High Commander Vale of the Galactic Council stood tall, his blue-scaled skin reflecting the dim light as he watched the small human shuttle approach. His thin lips curved into what his species considered a smile, but it held no warmth. "Such a fragile vessel," he said to his science officer. "These humans build everything small and weak, just like themselves." The science officer nodded, her long neck bowing as she studied the readings on her tablet. "Their muscle density is significantly lower than any spacefaring race we've encountered. They tire quickly and need constant rest. Even their bones break under pressures that our children could withstand." The human shuttle docked with a gentle thud that made Vale shake his head. His own people's ships connected with the satisfying crash of superior engineering. Everything about these humans seemed soft, from their ships to their bodies. Inside the shuttle, Ambassador James Miller adjusted his tie one final time. 20 years in diplomatic service hadn't prepared him for humanity's first official meeting with the Galactic Council. He looked at his team, 3 other diplomats chosen for their calm demeanor and experience. They all knew what was at stake. "Remember," Miller said, "they've been watching us for months. Let's show them what humanity is really made of." The meeting chamber was designed to intimidate. The ceiling rose 30 feet high, and the alien delegates sat on elevated platforms, looking down at the human delegation. Miller noticed how they had been given chairs suited for children, making them appear even smaller. High Commander Vale's voice came through the translator. "The Galactic Council welcomes Earth's representatives. We have completed our evaluation of your species and are prepared to offer you protected status under our care." Miller felt his jaw tighten, but kept his voice steady. "With respect, Commander, we're here to discuss full membership in the Galactic Alliance, not protected status." A rumble of what might have been laughter spread through the alien delegates. Vale's translator crackled. "Full membership? Your species can barely survive on your own planet. Your bodies require constant maintenance. You sleep for a third of your day. You can't even breathe underwater. Our differences make us unique, not inferior," Miller replied, maintaining eye contact with Vale. "Humanity has much to offer the Alliance." The science officer stepped forward, projecting images of human medical data. "Your species lacks natural armor. Your teeth are dull, your nails are useless as weapons. You have no venom, no significant healing ability, and your reproduction rate is inefficient." Miller waited for her to finish. "And yet we've built civilizations, explored our solar system, and developed technologies that rival those of Alliance members. We adapt, we innovate, we overcome through machines." Vale dismissed her. "You rely on artificial assistance for everything. The Council has classified you as a Class 3 non-threat species. We offer protection, not partnership." Miller stood up, making his small chair scrape against the floor. The sound echoed in the chamber. "Commander Vale, humanity respectfully declines protected status. We will continue our petition for full membership. You would reject our protection?" Vale's scales darkened with what might have been anger or amusement. "We don't need protection. We need allies, partners, equals." Miller gestured to his team, and they all stood. "We'll return to Earth and prepare a full presentation of human capabilities for the Council's review." As they walked back to their shuttle, Miller's youngest team member whispered, "They think we're weak." Miller smiled slightly. "They think a lot of things. They haven't seen what humans can do when we're challenged. They haven't seen us in battle, in crisis, or in need. They look at our bodies and see limitations. They should be looking at our minds and seeing possibilities." The shuttle detached from the alien ship with the same gentle touch that had so disappointed Vale. As they flew back to Earth, Miller watched the massive Council vessel grow smaller. He knew this was just the beginning. Sooner or later, the aliens would learn what humanity was truly capable of. He just hoped they'd learn it through diplomacy rather than necessity. But looking at Vale's dismissive expression, burned in his memory, Miller had a feeling they'd learn it the hard way. 3 months after the failed diplomatic meeting, Captain Kate Stone stood at the command center of Earth's newest space station. Her eyes fixed on the holographic display, red dots marking the positions of DV Empire ships moving closer to the human colony on Planet Haven. "They're testing our borders again," she said to her second-in-command. That's the third patrol this week. The DV Empire, known for their massive reptilian bodies and aggressive expansion, have been pushing into human space ever since the Galactic Council labeled humanity a Class 3 species. They saw Earth's colonies as easy targets. Stone typed up another report for the Council, knowing it would probably be ignored, like all the others. The Council treated human military concerns the same way they treated everything else about humanity, like the complaints of a weak species that needed protection. "Captain," her sensor officer called out. 2 more DV ships just appeared near Haven's moon. Stone grabbed the communication controls. "This is Captain Stone of the Earth Defense Force to DV vessels. You are approaching restricted space. Change course immediately." The response came quickly. The DV's rough voice, filled with amusement, filled the communication line. "Human Captain, we patrol where we wish. The Council has declared this sector open space." "Haven is a registered Earth colony," Stone replied firmly. "We have mining rights and settlement permits." "Permits given to a Class 3 species," the DV commander laughed. Stone muted the communication and turned to her crew. "Battle stations. Quiet running. Let's show them what a Class 3 species can do with proper planning." The space station's lights dimmed as it switched to low-power mode. Stone had prepared for this. While the DV ships looked for the usual energy signatures of active weapons, her crew was moving small automated defense platforms into position using minimal power. "They're scanning us," the sensor officer whispered. "Let them think we're hiding," Stone smiled. The DV ships moved closer, probably expecting the humans to call the Council for help. Instead, Stone waited until they crossed into Haven's defense grid. "Now," she ordered. Dozens of small defense platforms activated at once, surrounding the DV ships with a web of targeting lasers. Stone opened the channel again. "DV vessels, you are now surrounded by automated defense systems. Each platform carries enough firepower to disable a ship 3 times your size. I suggest you reconsider your patrol route." The DV commander's voice lost its amusement. "You dare threaten ships of the DV Empire? The Council will hear of this." "They certainly will," Stone agreed, "along with records of your illegal incursion into human space. Would you like me to begin shooting now, or would you prefer to leave peacefully?" The DV ships turned around slowly, their engines glowing bright with barely contained rage as they left. Stone's crew began cheering, but she raised her hand for silence. "They'll be back," she said, "and next time they'll bring more ships." She sat down to write yet another report to the Council, knowing what would happen. The DV would claim harassment by a lesser species. The Council would scold Earth for aggressive behavior, and the attacks would continue. Later that night, Stone sat in her office, reviewing the sensor data from the encounter. The draft ships had been carrying far more weaponry than a simple patrol would need. They had been testing Haven's defenses, searching for weaknesses. She sent a private message to Ambassador Miller, warning, "The DRA are planning something big. The Council won't listen to us because they think we're weak. We need to prepare for war." Miller's reply came swiftly, "Keep gathering evidence. Keep protecting our people. When the DRA finally reveal their true intentions, we'll be ready. The Council will learn that underestimating humanity was their biggest mistake." Stone gazed out her window at the colony below. Haven was home to 10,000 humans, all believing in the dream of peaceful expansion into space. She couldn't allow the DRA to destroy that dream. "Let them think we're weak," she whispered to herself. "Let them think we're helpless. When the time comes, they'll learn what humanity can do when pushed too far." Lieutenant Tom Wilson crouched behind a fallen concrete pillar as another explosion lit the night sky over Colony Beta. The DRA attack had come without warning, a massive fleet dropping out of hyperspace and launching an immediate ground assault. Their forces had expected the small human garrison to surrender right away, but they were wrong. "Status report," Wilson whispered into his comm responses came back quickly from his scattered team of 30 defenders. Team 1 was holding the North Ridge, Team 2 was in position near the power plant, Team 3 was moving through the tunnels. Wilson checked his tactical display. Over 300 DRA soldiers were attempting to capture the colony's main facilities. The aliens had expected an easy victory over what they considered a weak species. Instead, they had walked into a carefully prepared defensive network. They're moving towards the main storage facility, his sergeant reported. Big group, at least 50 of them. Wilson smiled grimly. Just like we planned. Spring the trap. The DRA soldiers, each nearly 8 feet tall and covered in natural armor, marched confidently down the colony's main street. Their heavy weapons were designed to smash through fortifications, but they weren't ready for what happened next. The street suddenly collapsed beneath them, dropping the entire group into a prepared pit. Before they could recover, hidden panels in the buildings opened, revealing automated turrets that fired sticky foam, quickly hardening and trapping the aliens. Your natural armor makes you strong, Wilson muttered, but it also makes you heavy and predictable. His comm crackled with an incoming transmission from the DRA commander. You primitive humans, face us in honorable combat. Wilson kept his voice calm as he replied, We are facing you in combat, just not the way you expected. Across the colony, his teams continued their hit-and-run tactics. Team 1 used sonic disruptors to confuse the DRA's sensitive hearing. Team 2 flooded areas with smoke that blocked the aliens' thermal vision. Team 3 emerged from tunnels to plant explosive charges before disappearing again. In orbit, a Galactic Council observation ship watched the battle unfold. High Commander Vale stood at his viewing station, his scales changing color in confusion. Impossible, he muttered. They should have been overrun immediately. The human defenders were not fighting the way the Council expected. Instead of confronting the DRA's superior strength head-on, they were using the environment itself as a weapon. Every street became a trap, every building a potential ambush point. Back on the ground, Wilson moved his teams into their final positions. The DRA had lost over 100 soldiers without capturing a single major facility. Their frustration was making them reckless. All teams, Wilson commanded, execute final protocol. The colony's lights suddenly went out, plunging everything into darkness. The DRA soldiers activated their thermal vision, only to be blinded by dozens of heat flares launched from hidden positions. In their confusion, they didn't notice small drones attaching themselves to their armor. Now, Wilson ordered. The drones were activated, sending electrical pulses through the DRA's conductive armor. Within minutes, most of the alien forces were paralyzed, their mighty bodies betrayed by their own protection. The DRA commander's voice roared over the comm again. This is not how warriors fight. No, Wilson agreed. This is how humans fight. We use what we have. We adapt. We overcome. He watched as the remaining DRA forces retreated to their ships, leaving behind their paralyzed companions. In orbit, High Commander Ville received the battle reports with growing disbelief. A garrison of 30 humans, he said slowly, just defeated a DRA assault force of 300? His science officer struggled to explain. They didn't win with strength, Commander. They used strategy, preparation. She paused, searching for the word. Cunning. Ville stared at the tactical displays, finally beginning to understand. The Council had classified humans as weak because they lacked natural weapons and armor, but they had failed to consider what humans had instead. The ability to turn anything and everything into a weapon. Send a priority message to the Council, Ville ordered. We may need to reconsider our assessment of humanity. Major Alex Thompson floated silently in space, his stealth suit absorbing radar and heat signatures. Behind him, 5 other human shades drifted like shadows against the stars. Ahead loomed their target, the massive bulk of a DRA mothership. After their defeat at Colony Beta, the DRA had brought in 3 motherships, each carrying thousands of troops. They were preparing for a full-scale invasion of human space. The Council still refused to help, calling it a minor border dispute. Remember, Thompson whispered through the tactical comm, we only need to reach the engine control room. Silent approach. No weapons unless absolutely necessary. His team acknowledged with single clicks. They had trained for this mission for weeks, studying DRA ship designs and practicing in simulations. Now it was real. The DRA had excellent security systems, but they were designed to detect ships and missiles, not individual humans in stealth suits. Thompson's team slipped through a maintenance lock using code stolen from previous DRA incursions. Inside the ship, they moved like ghosts. The DRA were large and powerful, but their size made them noisy. Humans, being smaller and lighter, could move almost silently when trained properly. Contact, whispered Jones, the team's sensor specialist. 3 DRA guards ahead. Thompson raised his hand, signaling the team to hold position. The guards passed by their hiding spot, never noticing the humans pressed against the ceiling in the shadows. They always forget to look up, Smith, the team's tech expert, commented quietly. Their natural armor makes them too heavy for climbing. Thompson nodded silently. They would complete this mission, just as they had so many others, by using their strengths, not those of the enemy. The DRA didn't expect anyone else to do it. The team reached the engine control room after 20 minutes of careful movement. 2 DRA technicians were working at the main console, their backs turned to the door. Thompson gave the signal, and his team moved in complete silence, placing neural disruptors on the backs of the technicians' necks. The massive aliens collapsed without a sound. "Start the upload," Thompson ordered. Smith connected their specialized virus to the ship's computer, designed to spread to any DRA ship that came within communication range. Meanwhile, the rest of the team set up small devices around the engine room. 5 minutes until the virus is uploaded, Smith reported. Suddenly, alarms blared through the ship. Intruder alert in Section S. A voice boomed in the DRA language. All warriors to battle stations. They found the unconscious guards. Thompson realized it was time for Plan B. Finish the upload. Everyone else, take defensive positions. The first DRA warriors burst through the door moments later, their weapons ready. They found an empty room. The technicians were still unconscious on the floor, but no intruders were visible. "Above you," Thompson called out. The DRA looked up just as Thompson's team dropped from their hiding spots on the ceiling. Neural disruptors struck multiple targets before the aliens could react. "Upload complete," Smith announced. "Plant the charges and move out. Different route back. They'll be guarding our entry point," Thompson ordered. The team split up, each member taking a separate path back to the airlock. The DRA searched frantically for them, but their sensors were calibrated for their own species. The humans were too small, too quiet, and too clever to be detected. Back in their stealth pods, Thompson's team watched as the virus spread through the DRA fleet's communications network. One by one, the massive ships lost power, their engines shutting down. The small charges they had planted weren't explosives. Instead, they released a chemical that reacted with the engine coolant, turning it into harmless but unusable sludge. The motherships would need weeks of repairs before they could move again. On his observation ship, High Commander Ville received the reports with increasing disbelief. A team of 6 humans just disabled 3 DRA motherships without firing a single lethal shot, he asked. "How?" his science officer inquired. "How did they even get aboard?" "We made the same mistake the DRA did," Ville replied slowly. "We thought their small size made them weak. Instead, it made them perfectly suited for infiltration. Their perceived weaknesses are actually tactical advantages." He watched as human ships moved in to secure the disabled DRA vessels. "Send another priority message to the Council," he ordered. "The humans aren't just defending themselves anymore. They're taking the fight to the enemy, and they're winning." Commander Robert Hayes hadn't slept in 3 days. Neither had anyone else on the bridge of the Earth battleship Thunder. The DRA had launched their biggest attack yet, a massive fleet trying to push through to Earth itself. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, voice hoarse from endless hours of reporting. "Enemy ships approaching from Sector 7. Hayes rubbed his tired eyes and took another sip of coffee. "How many?" 15 vessels. Big ones. The space around them was already filled with debris from 4 days of constant battle. The DRA had expected to break through the human defense line quickly. Instead, they found themselves in the longest continuous space battle in galactic history. On the Galactic Council observation vessel, High Commander Ville watched in disbelief. How are they still fighting? They haven't rotated their crews. They haven't stopped for rest cycles. His science officer checked the readings again. The humans are using stimulants to stay awake. Their bodies are producing high levels of adrenaline. By all our medical data, they should have collapsed from exhaustion days ago. Hayes' voice crackled over the general command channel. "All ships form up on Thunder. They want to break our line. Let's show them what happens when they back humans into a corner." The human ships moved with perfect coordination. Despite their crew's exhaustion, they had trained for this, prepared for the moment when pure determination would have to overcome physical limitations. "Enemy ships firing," the tactical officer shouted. "Return fire," Hayes ordered calmly. "All batteries, give them everything we have left." The space between the fleets lit up with energy weapons and missile trails. The DRA ships were larger, better armed, and their crews were fresh, but the humans had spent 4 days learning their enemies' patterns and finding their weaknesses. "Sir," the chief engineer called out, "our main reactor is running hot. We need to power down for cooling." Hayes shook his head. "No time. Rear out. Power through the backup systems. Keep us in the fight." Vil watched as the human ships took hit after hit but refused to retreat. "They're pushing their ships beyond safe limits," he said. "Just like they're pushing their bodies." An incoming transmission from the Thunder appeared on Vil's screen. Hayes' tired but determined face appeared. "Council vessel, I hope you're watching closely. You're about to see what happens when humans decide failure is not an option." The Thunder suddenly accelerated, diving straight toward the center of the DRA formation. Other human ships followed, creating a spear of ships driving into the enemy fleet. "They're going to get themselves killed," Vil's tactical officer said. But the humans had seen something the aliens hadn't. The DRA formation had a weakness. Their ships were arranged to maximize their heavy forward weapons. By diving into close range, the human ships got inside their firing solutions. "All ships, execute Battle Plan Delta," Hayes commanded. "Show them what Earth's best can do." The human fleet split apart with precise timing, each ship targeting a specific enemy vessel. The DRA tried to adjust, but their large ships couldn't turn quickly enough. Human vessels slipped through their formation, firing from angles the DRA couldn't defend. Within minutes, the enemy fleet was in chaos. Ships collided trying to reposition, and coordinated fire broke down. The humans, despite their exhaustion, moved their smaller ships with surgical precision. "Impossible," Vil whispered as he watched the DRA fleet begin to retreat. "They shouldn't even be conscious after fighting this long, let alone winning." His science officer had given up trying to explain. "Commander, I believe we need to completely reassess our—" "But you showed them that strength alone isn't enough." Miller signed the Alliance membership documents, making it official. Earth was now a full member of the Galactic Alliance, with all the rights and responsibilities that came with it. "There will be challenges ahead," Vil said. "Other species may still underestimate humans at first, but now we know better. Now we understand that humanity's greatest strength isn't in their muscles or natural armor." "No," Miller agreed. "Our greatest strength is in never accepting limitations, in always finding a way forward, no matter the odds." As the council chamber filled with representatives from across the galaxy, Miller looked at the screen showing humanity's achievements, both in peace and in war. They had proven themselves not by being the strongest, but by being the most adaptable, not by having the toughest bodies, but by having the strongest will. "Welcome to the Alliance," Vil said formally. "Not as a protected species, but as equals, perhaps even as teachers." Miller shook Vil's hand, marking a new chapter in human history. They had earned their place among the stars, not through raw power, but through determination, innovation, and the unbreakable human spirit. If you like, subscribe and like the video. We have videos every day.